So one of the longest rivalries in sports, of course, is the Montreal Canadiens versus the Boston Bruins. Now, fans of both teams can agree on a lot of things. Jean Beliveau was the heart and soul of the Montreal Canadiens for a number of decades after Maurice Richard arrived, and this guy was the heart of the Boston Bruins. Pretty well been a fixture with the squad since the 1950s. Now, for 7-8 decades, you cannot say the Boston Bruins without saying this guy or thinking about this guy. A class act, a fine gentleman, a great player, Hall of Famer, outstanding individual on all levels. Now, Johnny Bucyk, to many Bruins fans, is Mr. Bruin. Now, born May 12, 1935, played the majority of his career on left wing for Boston his whole career, made the Hall of Fame in 1981. Now, he's been associated in one capacity or another with the Bruins since the late 1950s. So you get 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010. So 7 to 8 decades. He's also been named one of the 100 greatest NHL players of all time in a special poll in 2017. Now, although he was called Chief, born to Sam and Pearl Bucyk, they were Ukrainian immigrants from the village of Bucyk, which is now Mostyaka Rayon, Lviv Oblast, Ukraine. Now, he grew up poor, with Pearl working 2 jobs, and his father, Sam, unfortunately was unemployed for over 4 years. And as well, his father died when Bucyk was just 10. Now, he was a skilled left winger who at 6'2", was one of the largest of his day. Some people say 6 feet. I've seen published reports 6'2", 220. While he was never regarded as the best at his position, being a contemporary of Bobby Hull and Frank Mahovlich, he had a long and stellar career and retired as the 4th leading point scorer of all time and having played the 3rd most games in history. Now, his game was based on perfection in the corners, perfection in skating style, perfection in what he called headmanning the puck and finishing off the play. Now, a big hitter, he was known for his devastating hip checks, which was the, peruse of defensemen at the time, but because, when he was on the forward line, he would move players out of the play to allow 2-on-1s and 3-on-2s, or we called the legal pick. Now, he was a clean player. He won the Lady Byng for sportsmanship and dedication in 71 and 74. Now, he first came to major prominence by playing junior hockey for the hometown Edmonton Oil Kings for 4 seasons, before signing with all teams, the Detroit Red Wings in 1955. Now, 2 modest years later in 57, he was traded to the Bruins in a surprising deal for Terry Sawchuk, one of the greatest goalies of the day. Bucyk then became the top left wing in Boston history, playing with his youth line partners Vic Stasiak and Bronco Horvat, who had previously played together in Edmonton. Bucyk established himself as a durable winger who was strong in the corners, with consistent scoring numbers. Now, when the team fell on hard times in the 1960s, they finished in last place for 5 straight seasons, during which time Bucyk, who generally paired with the great Murray Oliver and the speedy Tommy Williams, led the team in scoring several times. When the Bruins eventually became a powerhouse in the late 60s, when Esposito was showing up and Orr was more prominent, Bucyk, by then the team captain, rose with the pack with great production, including a 51-goal season in 71 when he was in his mid-30s, and aided the Bruins to 2 Stanley Cup titles in 70 and 72. Now, Bucyk proved particularly effective playing the left side of Boston's power play unit, which featured, get this, him, Esposito, Johnny McKenzie, Bobby Orr, and Fred Stanfield. Now, Bucyk started into his penultimate season, where he surrendered the team captaincy when suffering an injury to Wayne Cashman, and ending his playing career after the 78th season, after which the Bruins retired his number 9 jersey. At the time of his retirement, Bucyk was 4th all-time in points, behind Gordie Howe, Esposito, and Stan Mikita, and in goals. Now, in a full career with the Bruins, he scored 545 goals, the most in franchise history. Only Ray Bourque has subsequently passed the team mark for points and assists, and Bucyk's 40 playoff goals for Boston placed him 4th all-time on the team's list. Now, Bucyk again remains affiliated with the Bruins, serving on various occasions as a broadcaster and in the front office. He previously served as the team's director of road services and is now listed by the team as a roving ambassador, similar to Jean Beliveau was in Montreal. As part of the Boston's coaching administration staff, Bucyk had his name engraved on the Stanley Cup for a third time when the Bruins won in 2011, which was by then his 53rd consecutive season with the organization. Now by 2021, he's going towards again the 65 mark. Now, Bucyk was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1981, his first year of eligibility. Now, looking at his stats with the Edmonton Oil Kings, the three big seasons, he had 19, 29, and 30 goals. He also played the Memorial Cup in 1954 and the Ed Cup in 1955. Now, with the Red Wings, played part of 2 seasons. His rookie campaign, he had 9 points in 38 games. First season with Boston, he had 52 points, including 21 goals. And again, the big season for Bucyk was that 71 campaign where he had 51 goals, 65 assists, and 116 points. Now, 1970 playoffs, the big run, he had 19 points in 14 games, including 11 goals. 72, the other big run, 20 points in 15 games, including 9 goals. Now, achievements. As of the end of the 2019 season, and the statistics has been updated, he's top 20 for career goals and top 25 for points. He retired as a leading career point scorer among left wings, a record since surpassed by Lucky Luke Robitaille. He was third behind Gordon DeVecchio in games played and currently is top 15, recorded 16 20-goal seasons. First team All-Star 71, second team in 68, Lady Byng winner 71-74, Lester Patrick Trophy for contributions to hockey in the States in 77, All-Star Game appearances 55, 63, 64, 65, 68, 70, 71, Stanley Cup winner 70-72, career leader in goals in consecutive games played for the Bruins, and again second to Bork overall for assists and points. Now, known as the Chief due to her presumed Native American looks by a mistaken Boston cartoonist. So, again, one of the great Ukrainians of history. Now, he's proud of his ancestry and part of the Ute line with both Brock Horvats and Vic Stasiak. Now, when the Bruins ended their 29-year championship drought in 1970, Bucyk was given the honor of being the first player of the team to hoist the Stanley Cup around the Boston Garden, since he was the most senior alternate captain. Now, during that year, he did not have a regular captain wearing the C. Now, his nephew Randy Bucyk played for Northeastern University and the Montreal Canadiens and Calgary Flames organizations, winning a Stanley Cup with Montreal in '86. Bucyk also played for Team Canada in 1989. Oldest player to score 50 goals at age 35. Oldest player scoring 50 goals or more first time in a career, 71. Most number of NHL games before scoring 500 goals, 1370. Number 45 on the all-time Hockey News list of 100 greatest NHL players. In January 2017, he was part of the first group of players to be named one of the 100 greatest NHL players in history. Definitely a top 50 player of all time, but not to sound weird, the confusion of his Aboriginal ancestry kind of motivated a lot of Aboriginal players. I've been to many tournaments where they've incorrectly referred to Johnny Bucyk as an Aboriginal player. But as one coach told me, if that motivates the children to look up to Johnny Bucyk as an Aboriginal hero, even though he's Ukrainian, and maybe he might have been what he called Aboriginal Ukrainian, I don't know the ancestry there. But for Aboriginal players across Canada, he was a role model because he had that tenacity that often occurs where with Aboriginal players coming from a poor background, giving their all on the ice. And for that alone, he means so much to not only Aboriginal people across Canada, but to people who have come up through poverty. He had a rough upbringing, money was tight, and he came from that to be possibly the most respected player of his generation. Only Jean Beliveau and Mikita and a few others could hit his level. And when Johnny Bucyk spoke, people listened. It didn't matter if it was in the media or whatever. There's a very, I think, famous Sports Illustrated reporter was giving a young player for Boston a hard time in the 1970s, and I guess Bucyk went over to the reporter. He said, "Have you ever been young in your job?" He said, "Have you ever tried to learn your job and didn't learn it right away?" He said, "Cut him some slack." He didn't use those same words, but he basically said, buzz off. He was a leader on and off the ice. So if you like what we're doing here, especially the Boston Bruins podcast, we would appreciate a like, comment, or subscribe. Again, with our channel here with no monetization and promotion besides word of mouth, 250,000 hits, 500 plus subscribers. We appreciate it. Have a good evening. Bye.